right, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Really excited to see everybody here today. This is a topic that I'm super interested in, and I've been really excited to, WeChat mini program live streaming is super new. And we'll talk a little bit about that. There's been other forms of live streaming on WeChat, but WeChat mini program live streaming is super new. And I was very excited to see it roll out during the past couple of months, and I think it's really just getting started. So I'm very excited to talk to you guys today about what it is, and I think that now is really a key time to be thinking about this because it's still very early on for WeChat mini program live streaming. Let me Before we get started, though, I should introduce myself and introduce Chatly. So, Chatly is a WeChat management platform, and we work with brands in the luxury, retail, travel, financial services, lots of different industries. And a little bit about me. My name is Lauren Hallanan. I'm the head of marketing at Chatly. And the reason that I'm excited about this topic and the reason that I like talking about live streaming is that in one of my past lives a couple of years ago, I was actually a live streamer. So I'll just take a quick moment to tell a little bit about my story, to shed a little background into my experience with live streaming. So if you are familiar at all with live streaming in China, it was very popular in 2016 and 2017, but back then it was less focused on e-commerce like it is today. Right now we're seeing, from early 2019 and really through now, we're seeing this huge boom in commerce live streaming. But back in 2016, 2017, the industry was much more focused on what I call entertainment live streaming. So that's what I was involved in. I was an entertainment live streamer in China for over a year, about a year and a half. Ironically, the reason that I got into live streaming in the first place was because I was trying to sell some products. I had an online store, and I saw live streaming coming out in China and becoming popular. And I thought, this would be a great way to sell my products. But I was too early to the trend. This was back in late 2015, and early 2016, before Taobao Live was even launched. And Taobao Live was the first live commerce platform. Now we're seeing a lot of platforms adopt it, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. But I was too early to the trend, and unfortunately there were no commerce solutions for live streaming back then, and I found that I could just engage with my following and earn some money from the virtual gifting. So I gave up on my commerce live streaming dreams. But really, since the beginning, I've been more interested in commerce live streaming and its potential. So that's a little bit about my background and why I'm interested in the topic. So as I've already touched upon, e-commerce, live streaming, or live commerce, it's a mouthful either way, but this has been growing over the past year. So the first ever live commerce platform, like I just mentioned, was Taobao Live. And originally that was within the Taobao app. Now they also have a separate app where you can watch it. And that was launched, very late 2016, 2017, but it was very slow growth for the commerce live streaming industry. 2017, 2018, it was mostly just Taobao Live, Mogujie, a couple of platforms, but it really wasn't a big trend. And then 2019 hit, and e-commerce live streaming started to take off. And then, as I'm sure many of you living in China are aware of, when the coronavirus hit China and everyone was under quarantine and couldn't go out and buy products, commerce live streaming really took off because people had a lot more time on their hands. They were looking to buy things. It was just the perfect situation for this medium to take off. And um like I said, there was some original big players, but during the quarantine period, we saw a lot of other platforms like WeChat and Xiaohongshu and some other platforms, Pinduoduo, start to launch their live commerce solutions. And Douyin's live commerce, they had that for a while, but it's become much more popular recently. So we've really seen that, lots of platforms are adopting it, and it's becoming much more accepted by a large majority of Chinese consumers. As you see here, there's some great stats down at the bottom. Taobao found that on their platform, live stream sessions had increased by 110% year over year, and the number of merchants using it for the first time grew by 719% from January to February during that peak quarantine period. Um, so for those of you, I'm sure most of you are familiar, have maybe seen a stream. I'm sure you're somewhat familiar with it. But in case you're not, I wanted to include a page here to just talk about what is e-commerce live streaming. So you can see very simply from the picture on the left, you're watching a live stream. Most likely on a mobile device. It's typically a mobile device. You're watching the live stream. The host will be talking about different products. You can comment, you can ask questions. That interactivity is really one of the main attractions of watching a commerce live stream, is being able to ask the host questions about the product. Then you can click a shopping bag or shopping cart icon in the bottom corner, and you will be able to see a list of the products that they're going to be discussing during that stream. And then without even leaving the stream, you can click on one of the products, go to the product page, and still be watching the live stream while you're scrolling through the product and putting it in your cart and even purchasing the product. And then you just click on the screen and go right back to the live stream. This format is pretty typical. These photos are from mini program live streaming, but this format is pretty typical across all platforms. And you'll see some slight variations, but these are kind of the key elements of it. So as I've touched upon, there are a lot of platforms who now have live commerce features to them. As I have mentioned several times, Taobao is the OG, right? They're the original, I guess almost creators of live commerce, and they have been really pushing and believing in live commerce for quite a long time. But just because they created it doesn't mean that other platforms can't do a really good job. So Kuaishou has had live commerce for a while, and that has been very popular for them. They've produced some great results. JD has live streaming, but it's much more professional generated content, much less focused on individual KOLs. Creating live streams. You have to work with JD to run the live stream. And then, like I mentioned, there's a bunch of newcomers since the quarantine period. Xiaohongshu, WeChat. These platforms had been testing different live streaming options for a very long time. And then I think, seeing the rush of people using live streaming during the quarantine period, seeing this big opportunity, they just pushed the features out there. So WeChat is really one of the newcomers to this experience. But like I'm going to talk about today, I think it's a great platform for live streaming. And just because it's a newcomer doesn't mean that it can't produce really great results. So again, why is this commerce live streaming format so popular? I think maybe many of you watching have seen it. Maybe you have some understanding, but if you don't, I found, especially for people who are outside of China, who can't maybe understand the language and understand what's going on in the stream. People have a really hard time like wrapping their head around why somebody would want to watch this. They think it must be really boring. I'd rather just scroll on the e-commerce site. But really, it serves a purpose. So here are the four, what I see as the four key ways that it serves a purpose, right? So the first one is product discovery and education. A lot of people will just go on and watch the live streams because they want to learn about new products. They want to see what's out there. They want to see the live streamer talk about products and give them more detailed information, right? So they maybe don't like scrolling through e-commerce sites, or they feel very overwhelmed when they scroll through e-commerce sites, and they just want to know, what's the best product? How should I use it? Give me some details about it. There's a lot of people that are, more auditory, visual, I guess not learners, but, they like that medium. They like to be able to just listen to somebody talking about the product as opposed to reading a tiny product description on, on their Taobao app on their phone or their WeChat app on their phone. Number two, it generates trust and builds a relationship. So if any of you have bought products, online in China, I'm sure you've had at least one experience where the product that you received in the mail was not the product that you thought that you were buying, right? There's a lot of misinformation, fake reviews, products that have been extremely photoshopped, right? It can be really tough to decide what to buy online, especially if it's an item that costs a little bit more. You really don't want to drop your money and then get it in the mail and be like, this is not what I wanted. Uh, so with live streaming, it's really hard to fake what a product looks like. It's much more real. It's much more raw. You can see the size of the product. You can see the texture of the product. For clothing, you can see how it fits on the person. It's much harder to hide the flaws of an item when it's on a live stream. And, I pointed out before that interaction is very important, right? You're able to interact with the host, ask them specific questions about the product. And oftentimes people will watch the same host, live streaming host, over and over again and start to develop a relationship with that person. If they buy a product from them once and they like it, then they start to develop, trust in what this person's saying. And a lot of the big streamers as well, will go through a rigorous process before they agree to promote a product on their stream, and that develops trust as well. Deals, discounts, and giveaways. Now, this is a huge one, and it's a reason why a lot of people will purchase things from live streams. Is that especially on say Taobao, Kuaishou, some of these platforms, there are a lot of special deals. People, companies will give buy one, get one free. There's an exclusive price. There's lucky draws to win some products. There's a very limited inventory, and it's, you can only get it here on this live stream right now. Otherwise, you have to wait a month before you can get it again. A lot of these mechanisms are used on live streams. And like I mentioned, not all of these mechanisms have to be price driven. They could be scarcity driven. They could be a special package, things like that. So it doesn't have to always be discounts. And then four, the point number four, this is very important for during the quarantine period, right? Live streaming, e-commerce live streaming is the closest experience that you can get to an offline commerce experience, right? It's you go into a store, you talk to a sales associate about a product. The closest thing that you can get to that when you weren't actually able to go to the store would be, to watch a live stream. And I think that even though offline retail has reopened up, people are going to stores again. So you might be thinking, okay, this isn't as relevant, but really it is, because, for example, your brand only has an offline presence in a couple of select cities in China. Then you're able to produce that offline experience for consumers that are outside of those cities, that can't go to your offline store, can't go somewhere and touch and feel and look at your product before buying it. They only have the choice of e-commerce. So don't think that just because the quarantine period is over that this point isn't important. So when it comes to e-commerce live streaming, there's really three main formats. So one is collaborate with a live streamer. And this is probably the kind that most of you have heard a lot about. Austin Lee, Li Jiaqi, Via. These are, huge names in China now. They've become very popular, very famous for being able to sell huge amounts of products. They have tons of viewers. Via sold a rocket recently, so this is a very popular method of live streaming. Is brand pays the live streamer to promote their product. You get maybe 5-10 minutes on the during their broadcast for them to promote your product. The only problem with this is that the ROI is very, very low. This is great for huge exposure. It's great for, almost, in some sense, it's almost like getting product samples out to an audience. You're not going to make money off of this type of live streaming because you have to pay a huge commission to the streamer and offer high discounts. But it's a great way to build brand awareness. This type of streaming is not going to be as common on the WeChat mini program streaming. I think the WeChat mini program streaming is really going to be the last one, which we'll talk about in a moment. The second type is professionally generated content. So this would be, like I said, JD.com. They tend to do a lot of this type of content. I've seen a lot of this on Douyin as well. Some of it on WeChat too. It looks like you're watching a TV show almost. It's a little bit more QVC-ish. It's high production. There's some kind of show. The host is more like a TV host. It's much more of a it's much more scripted. And this is effective for, say, a big product launch, like I said here, a fashion show, but it's not. It's a lot. You feel a lot more distant from the audience, and it kind of takes away some of the effectiveness of the live streaming medium. And then the last type, which I think is going to be, the most common on WeChat, is to build out an internal live streaming team to run your own branded live streams. So we see especially a lot in the cosmetics industry. A lot of companies are, having sales associates, people on their team to run streams on various platforms. And these streams are, maybe lower viewer numbers, but much more interactivity with the audience. They are much more like a sales associate, just introducing products and talking to customers in the store. This is a really great method for, if you're wanting to do weekly streams, even daily streams. We see some companies doing. So I mean, I think that every company needs a mix of these. But when it comes to WeChat, I think the last method is going to be the most popular. So now we're going to focus our discussion and talk specifically about live streaming on WeChat. So like I had mentioned before, live streaming on WeChat is not new. It has just become easier. So there have been brands that have, because some people might be confused. They're like, okay, I saw, I think Dior hosted live streams on WeChat 2 years ago. So yes, brands have live streamed on WeChat for several years now, but it's been a lot of custom solutions. It's been a lot of one-off streams, and it takes a lot more time. It costs a lot more to set up. Whereas, and then last year, they also started to test out another form of live streaming, which is Tencent live stream plus Kandian, and it was also more complicated. I just not going to spend a lot of time talking about these previous options because I think all of these previous options are more complicated. They take more effort. There's a less seamless user experience, which is why mini program live streaming is really exciting. So mini program live streaming is great because you can easily apply for it. You can set it up pretty quickly, and the live stream will occur right in your brand owned mini program. You're not having to stream it on a Tencent mini program. You're not having to, everything is owned by you. It's on your mini program. And it's a super seamless experience to connect what's in your shopping cart, your inventory with the commerce mini program. So here are a couple of the rules for applying. Remember that right now they've only launched it a couple months ago. It's not available to everyone. You do have to apply and meet some specific requirements. At the moment, it's only open to local Chinese accounts, not yet available for IBAs, but international business accounts. But I'm sure that, it probably will be in the future. This is really still in its early stages. And also here, it cannot be a personal entity. It must be a brand account in order to apply for mini program live streaming. And then I've listed, there's several other requirements here. And then, they have specific product categories that are allowed to do the live streams, which I've listed on the page as well, but it's pretty wide open. I think most categories, most of you watching will probably fall into one of these categories. And again, I think that they'll probably expand the categories as the product develops. So why live stream on WeChat? I've mentioned several times now that there's a lot of other platforms that have live streaming. That Taobao is one of the biggest. So why live stream on WeChat? Well, I think that as all of the vast majority of Chinese consumers are on WeChat, and they're on WeChat all day, every day. And yes, a lot of Chinese consumers use Taobao as well, but they're not on Taobao all day, every day, right? Whereas, with WeChat, I can subscribe. I want to watch a live stream. I subscribe. I get the notification. I'm very likely to see the notification because I'm in my WeChat all the time. Also, mini program users have been dramatically increasing. So they just came out with the newest numbers that there's now 400 million mini program daily active users. So, mini program usage is up. And one of the most popular mini program categories is commerce, right? We've seen a ton of brands, especially in the luxury space, choosing to launch mini program commerce stores. And people are getting more and more comfortable with purchasing things on WeChat. Maybe before they would look on WeChat and then end up going to another platform to actually buy. But people have become so comfortable, especially during the quarantine period, with purchasing things on WeChat. So really, starting to do live streams on WeChat, if you've already invested in building your audience on your WeChat official account, you have a mini program store, or you're looking to launch a mini program store, live streaming is just one more channel, one more way to drive traffic to your store, to drive conversions, right? I'm sure you're already doing a lot, whether it's running ads, whether it's running, private traffic groups, whether it's working with KOLs. You're always looking for ways to drive traffic to your official account and to your mini program store. So this is just another option. Um, and we know that social commerce has been very successful on WeChat. That's been a huge buzzword over the past year or two. And the live stream mini program live stream is something that you can easily share the live stream card, as you can see in the picture that I've shared here. You can easily share it in groups. You can encourage viewers to share it. Give them incentives to share it with other people, and drive a lot of viewers to your live stream. So another thing that I really want to emphasize is that, you know, we want to think of WeChat as a closed loop, right? So you can do your awareness, your marketing, you drive people to follow your account, then to enter your store, to purchase a product. You have your loyalty program to keep them coming back, right? We can do everything in WeChat. We want to keep them within that closed loop of WeChat, because then we can follow them. We can collect user data. We can retarget them. We can create personalized experiences, right? So if you're doing everything within WeChat and then you have your live streaming over on another platform and you're driving them there, you're sending them messages on WeChat, but then you're saying, oh, go watch my Taobao live stream, then you're sending them to another platform and you're not able to track them going over there and what are they doing over there. It's all that data that you're gathering on them, and then you're sending them somewhere else. So this is really great because now you can keep them in that loop, keep the life cycle going within WeChat. As I mentioned, now with mini program live streaming, it's a really seamless experience to be able to watch a live stream from a brand. So here's an example that I saw recently from MAC Cosmetics. They've been doing a great job with mini program live streaming. So I just searched their name in WeChat, and right in their brand zone, in their search page on WeChat, you can see down at the bottom, it says live stream. So I can click right there from the search page. I don't even have to follow them. I don't have to anything, I just search in WeChat. I can go directly into the live stream. I see a page where I can see all of their upcoming live streams listed, and I can click on the black button, and then I can sign up to receive a notification about that live stream. And when that live stream starts, I receive a service notification right in my WeChat feed. So like I said, this is a prime example. I signed up. I totally forgot that I had signed up for this. I was just, doing some research, signed up for it, totally forgot when it was. I was in WeChat doing something else. All of a sudden the service notification pops up. I was like, oh, what's this? I click in and, oh yeah, the live stream. So, that's one of the benefits to having it right within WeChat is people are in WeChat all day, every day. And so you click the stream, you click the button, and it takes you directly right into the stream. Again, you don't have to follow the account, anything like that. We can add features where, you can ask people, if they're a loyalty member, to sign up or something like that when they're making a purchase. But other than that, anybody can really watch the live stream. And then like I mentioned and, showed before, you can click on the icon, look at the products that are available. You can still be watching the stream, scroll through all the items, put them in your cart, and check out without ever leaving the stream. I wanted to point out something that I saw Mac doing that I haven't seen anybody else doing, that I really love this feature, and it shows even more why it's great to have mini program live streaming, is that here on the right, they had a button. You can have a beauty consultation. So I clicked on the beauty consultation button, and it took me to this page where I can be connected directly to a beauty advisor. All I have to do is scan their QR code, and I can add them on WeChat Work. So we've talked here at Chatly about WeChat Work a lot before. It's a great option for clienteling. A lot of brands in China are adopting it to have their sales associates use WeChat Work to connect with consumers. So here's a great example of how I go live stream to the product, and then I can, if I want even more one-on-one service, more than what the live stream can provide, I can add a beauty advisor right here. It's location based, so they give you a nearby beauty advisor. And I can ask them even more questions through WeChat work. So, a lot of these features are available for anybody. Anybody can, like I mentioned, as long as you fit the requirements, you can apply to start mini program live streaming. All of those basic features are, available for most anybody. But I wanted to talk briefly about some of the things, if you work with a company like Chatly, how can we create added benefit and make it even more beneficial for you to be using WeChat for live streaming. So like I said, we want to keep them in the ecosystem so that we can collect more data about users. So working with a platform like Chatly, we can also tag all of the viewers who are your followers who watch the live stream, so we know which followers are watching live streams, so that we can then send them more information about upcoming live streams. We can tag viewers who clicked on products in the stream. If somebody clicks a product and they don't buy it, we can send them a reminder notification within the official account. We can send order updates if they purchase something through the live stream. And then I had touched on very briefly before, but when somebody's purchasing a product during the live stream, we can also ask them to log into a loyalty program. If you have a loyalty program set up on WeChat, we can ask them to log into the loyalty program, so we can connect live streaming, mini program shop, and loyalty program, so that's all interconnected, and they can maybe use their loyalty points, get loyalty points while purchasing something during the live stream. So a couple of examples. I'm sure many of you have, if you follow China marketing, you've probably heard of Perfect Diary. They are a great example of a lot of different best practices. But recently, for the past couple of months, they have been very active with mini program live streaming. They've live streamed on Taobao for a long time. And if you know anything about Perfect Diary, they're very well known for what we call private traffic WeChat groups. So they have a lot of WeChat groups with several hundred members in them, and these WeChat groups are for their customers, and they'll send a lot of product information in these groups. And so they've done really well because they have hundreds of these groups, and every time that they hold a mini program live stream, they share the live stream mini program card right in the group, and users, people in the group can just click right in and start watching the live stream and purchase items on WeChat. So the number of viewers on their mini program live streams in February was 3 to 10 times higher than it was prior to the quarantine period. And the conversion rate on WeChat was 2 to 3 times higher than on other platforms. So like I said, Perfect Diary, they live stream on multiple different platforms. WeChat is just one of the channels that they live stream on, but obviously they're seeing great results from it. And I think a lot of it has to do with being able to use the social commerce aspect of it, being able to share the mini program card and get more viewers to the stream. Here's another interesting example that I saw from luxury retailer Suku. They ran a contest through their official account. They sent out some articles on their official account where they it was like a fashion stylist contest, a fashion, like, be our next fashion partner, and it was open to all of their readers. They had an application process where you could scan the QR code here, you could apply to be part of the contest. You had to fill out some information, share some of your social handles and stuff, talk about where your fashion expertise comes from. And then they narrowed it down to a couple of, I think it was somewhere between 5 to 10 finalists. And then these finalists, who were, just normal people, just the readers, were then invited onto a e-commerce live stream. It was in Saku's studio, and they had to make an outfit from the clothing that Saku provided, and then they had to act like a live streamer, and they had to sell their product and talk, or sell their outfit and talk about why they chose these different pieces, what they really like about these brands. So I thought this was a really great way that Saku went from their official account, broadcast article, held a contest, and then brought it into live streaming. And based on the live streaming results, that's how they chose their finalists. So I thought that was a really fun campaign. And then Ctrip. So like I mentioned, just because you're live streaming on WeChat doesn't mean you can't live stream on other platforms. And we see a lot of brands doing that right now, where they're live streaming on multiple different platforms. So Ctrip's a great example of this. Their co-founder and chairman, he joined streams both on Douyin and on WeChat. So the first one that they had was on Douyin, which is maybe some of you are more familiar as TikTok. But on March 23rd, they held a live stream on Douyin. They invited KOLs. As you can see from the image here, they had this split screen where they had some travel KOLs from Douyin on, and he was talking to them. And they talked about different types of travel. So it was interesting because they brought on travel KOLs that are like couples travel, family travel. They talked all about what places are best, what types of experiences are best, how to travel as a family, things like that. And they did a lot of giveaways and coupons to encourage consumption, encourage people, pre-booking travel. A lot of it was like pre-booking so that, when you do want to travel internationally, you could use this, this coupon or discount in the future. And then 2 days later, they held a live stream on WeChat, a mini program live stream on WeChat. And they used Moments ads to drive their audience. So that's another benefit of having it on WeChat, right? Is that you can use Moments ads to drive people to your live stream. And then also, like I mentioned earlier with the Mac example, Mac in their brand zone had a direct link to the live stream. Well, Ctrip did that as well, right? In the preheat period for the live stream, they updated their brand zone to show live stream information and directly link to the broadcast. And then the content for this live stream was different than what they did on Douyin. So on Douyin, where he talked about different types of travel with KOLs, here it was more about his personal experience. It was focused on hotels. He specifically talked about several places that he had traveled, and he recommended hotels that he had stayed in. So, he almost acted like a KOL, adding that personal touch, talking about where he had traveled to. Again, they relied very heavily on a lot of coupons and lucky draws to drive engagement, to drive a lot of viewers. And what's interesting is that they the last point that I make here on the bottom, according to Ctrip, viewer traffic increased about 20% each round of the lucky draw. And part of this is because, like I mentioned, social commerce and sharing is very common on WeChat, and they encouraged people to share the live stream. They gave them some incentives to share the live stream mini program card with friends and family in WeChat groups and on their WeChat moments, which drew in more and more people. And they, like I said here, they actually had like a sign in the back of the live stream showing who had just won the giveaways, so you could screenshot that and share it with people. It made the content very shareable, and then people were showing it to their friends and family, who were then saying, "Oh, I want to watch that stream too, and I want to join, and also have a chance of winning something." So now I just want to talk briefly about getting started with mini program live streaming, a little bit more of the technical aspect of it, and then we'll go into Q&A. So I'm gonna move this over here. Okay, so setting up mini program live streaming, it's pretty easy. Like I said, it's if you just want the basic level, this is something that a lot of you can do on your own in the WeChat backend. But if you'd like to have more tracking, more tagging, more follow up capabilities, then you'd want to work with a company like us to do that. But you can directly apply for live streaming in the WeChat mini program backend. And once you get approval, you can start setting it up right away. So to create a live streaming room, you would fill in all of the data fields. You'll get a specific code for that specific live stream. Something to note here is that you have to assign a host to the stream. You probably know from other types of live streaming in China that they're very strict about who the host is and having the ID registered. So that's just something that you need to be careful of, is when you create the live streaming room, you need to make sure that the host is actually going to be hosting the live stream, that you're using their ID for that setup. And then you can easily add the products from your mini program store directly into the live stream. There's a limit of up to 200 products. I don't think you'd want to have that many products in your live stream, but you can do up to 200 products. And then once it's set up, you can start the stream. You do want to know that the first time that you do it, your host is going to have to go through a verification process. So you find the mini program the live stream mini program. You have to go through a real name verification. So do leave a little bit of extra time ahead of your stream to make sure that that's all set up the first time that you do it. And then you can get everything set up and start streaming. So as I said, it's pretty simple to get going with. But if you want more advanced metrics and capabilities, that's not really available at the moment. So that's all that I wanted to share. So if you want to get in touch with us, get in touch with me, follow our official account to learn more about this topic, please do so. And now I'm going to open it up to Q&A. I wanted to address one quick question that came in ahead of the webinar. It was during the registration, somebody had asked mini program live streaming versus Taobao live streaming. So I think I kind of addressed that a little bit before, but I don't think that it's exclusive. I think that if you have the resources and you have the capabilities and you're interested in live streaming, that you should live stream both on, like, if you have a Taobao store and you have an e-commerce mini program, then you should consider live streaming on both platforms. I don't think that it's exclusive. I think, Taobao might be more of the first method where you're working with KOLs, plus you have brand run streams. Whereas mini program live streaming, you might want to do mostly brand run streams, not work as much or rely as much on KOLs to be driving traffic. So I don't think they're exclusive. A lot of the beauty brands are running live streams on both platforms. That being said, you need to run different live streams. So don't have one host and have a camera here and a camera here, and one's going to Taobao and one's going to WeChat. That's not going to be effective. If you look at the brands that are running both types of live streams, they are have they have a host on this platform and a host on this platform, and they're doing two separate streams. That'll produce much better results. Can you find data for results by type of product? Yes, the back end will show the results. So they'll show. I think that's what your question is asking. They will show what were the results of the live stream. Which products were looked at the most, put in the cart, purchased. So they do give you all of that data. Can you use WeChat mini program live streaming to sell products cross-border? Yes. I mean, if you have your own, so you're with the e-commerce live streaming mini program, you're just taking products directly from your inventory for your mini program store. So if you have a mini program store and you're selling cross border, all you're doing is hooking up a live stream with a live stream host. The live stream host can be in China, and they're just connecting to whatever's in your inventory in your mini program store, and everything will be processed for the live stream just like it is with your mini program store. It's really just another form of traffic to that store. So yes, you can do that. Is WeChat live streaming suitable for a small high-end brand? Yes, I think so. I think that it is a great opportunity for smaller brands. You should not expect the type of results that you hear about with all these crazy case studies of selling, thousands of products and millions of RMB. But it is a great way to, especially for high-end brands, it's a great way to develop a relationship with your audience, develop that trust with your audience, because as you probably know, a higher end product is going to take more touch points, more time speaking to the consumer and developing that relationship with the consumer before they're going to be willing to drop, significant amounts of money on a higher end product. So this is a really great way to speak with them one-on-one, show them more of the features of your product, and develop that relationship with them. I think that WeChat live streaming is going to be more effective if, one, you already have an audience on WeChat, or two, you can spend budget to drive WeChat ads. Otherwise, it's a little bit difficult because, as you all probably know, WeChat is as a closed channel. People are not just going to stumble upon your live stream. You really have to bring your own traffic. So that's, I think, the only barrier. But if you have ways to drive the traffic, then I think that WeChat live streaming is a great option. Okay, great question from I see here about what if the brand is not structured in China with a dedicated team? Who, in your opinion, should be the host if not a KOL? So let me clarify what I meant by that. By the KOL live streams. So you can still invite a KOL to come on and host your branded your brand live stream. So when I mentioned those three types of those three formats of live streaming, the KOL, the professionally generated content, and the brand team. When I was talking about the KOL, I was talking mainly about say Taobao, Douyin, Kuaishou, where the KOL can have their own e-commerce live streaming room, and then they get inventory from other brands and they put it into their shopping cart, like into their inventory. As opposed to a brand runs the live stream directly from their store, and the brand is inviting a KOL to come to their live stream. So hopefully that clarifies the difference between those two. So if your brand is running your own live stream, you can do that from anywhere. I've seen a lot of companies who are located outside of China, and they find a local Chinese KOL living in their country, and they invite them to come to their store and run the live stream there. So I think it's totally possible to do it outside of China, even if you don't have a Chinese staff. I hope that helps answer that question. So WeChat ads are essential for WeChat live streaming success. No, not essential. As I said, if you have traffic already on WeChat, if you have an official account with a decent number of followers, then I don't think that you need to pay for ads. I think that the only time that you would need to do WeChat ads is if you really want to drive maybe you're doing a product launch, a bigger event, and you want to drive a lot more traffic, a special campaign. Or if you want to acquire new users, then you could use WeChat ads to do that. Or if you're starting from zero and you really don't have much of a following, then you could use WeChat ads. But Mac, the example that I used, Perfect Diary, they're not running ads on a regular basis. They're just driving traffic directly from their official account and their WeChat groups. What commission rates can be expected when using WeChat mini program live streaming? Like I said, I think I highly recommend that for WeChat mini program live streaming, you're mostly developing your own internal KOLs. You're using your sales associates and staff within the company. So I don't think this would really be applicable for Taobao. That's a bit different. There's a lot of very large live streamers who will want 30 to 50% commission along with a base fee. And that really varies from KOL to KOL, or even from the type of product, the length that you want them to talk about the product. I think right now, like I mentioned on WeChat, you would have to invite the KOL onto your stream to talk about the products or to host the stream. So it's not as relevant at the moment. I haven't really been seeing a lot of brands using that format on WeChat, mostly been brand run live streams. How does WeChat live streaming incorporate into social CRM? Well, like I just mentioned, we can tag users that have watched the live stream, that have clicked on the shopping cart in the live stream, and we can be sending all of that data back to the CRM system, and be grouping. You can create a group of followers that's segmented based on followers who watched X stream or followers that just watched live streams in general. So yeah, I mean, if you're working with an sCRM system, such as Chatly, then you're able to gather all of that data from all that viewer data, all that purchasing data, and integrate it back into your system. Let's see. Building a team, building a live streaming team or sales associates as a potential strategy. Any tips on how a company might start off on this? It really does just finding some talent within, and having them start to experiment with the medium. I'd say that have them go out and watch a lot of the others. There's a ton of streamers to watch out there. They can easily start to learn some best practices. Obviously, if you have somebody that has some experience with social content creation, with hosting anything, then or if you have a really outgoing sales associate, I think that's just a kind of a personal selection. And you can really just have them watch other live streamers out there and start to get some best practices. You could also find somebody that has hosted a stream before, maybe a smaller KOL, and have them come in and co-host to help your associates learn how to do it. I don't really have any best resources for that though. Some other great questions. Somebody had asked during registration, how effective would it be if the live stream was in English or say Cantonese as opposed to Mandarin? I would highly recommend, if you can, to have your live streams in Mandarin Chinese. Even if, say, you're going to host the stream from the US, Europe, Australia, another country outside of China, I would strongly recommend that, say your founder wants to come on the live stream too, and they only speak English. I would still have somebody who speaks Mandarin who's there translating for them. I think if the stream is solely in English, you're gonna struggle a bit, or just that the results aren't gonna be as good. Okay. Well, we are getting close to time, and I think that we've covered a lot here today. As I said, we will be sharing a lot of these the material, the presentation today, as well as the video with over the next couple of days. So please keep an eye out for those. And thank you again, all of you, for coming. And if you have any additional follow up questions or questions that I didn't address during the presentation, please feel free to reach out to me. It's lauren@chatley.com. So thank you so much for attending, and have a good rest of your day.